Good
Good morning,
morning.
Cheryl.
Good evening.
Good evening to me. I'm trying to stay awake today. But yeah, excited because this word shift has been percolating in both our spirits. In my spirit, powerfully, very much percolating. I am excited about the whole concept, and where I thought it was just a little bit about me, I'm getting to see that it's actually way bigger than that. So love to share, what God's been putting on your heart, and also on my own heart about this whole concept of shift. Today it was supernatural shift, a supernatural shift. That this shift is not just going to be moving from one place to another, like in the natural and the physical realm, but there's this supernatural unction behind the whole concept of this word shift. So I'll just quickly share the verse that I've been pondering today in Isaiah 60, and it says, "Rise up in splendor and be radiant, for your light has dawned, and Yahweh's glory now streams from you. Look carefully, darkness blankets the earth and thick clouds covers the nations. But Yahweh rises upon you, and the brightness of his glory appears over you. Nations will be attracted to your radiant light, and kings to the sunrise glory of your new day. Lift your eyes higher and look all around you and believe, for your sons are returning from afar, your daughters are being tenderly carried home. Watch as they gather together, eager to come back to you. Then you will see with understanding and be radiant. Your heart will be thrilled and swell with joy." And it goes on to share in that chapter about the shifts that happen, the financial shifts, the abundance, the wealth, the restoration of so many things, and we just seem to be in this point of time now where this supernatural shift
It's happening.
is happening. It's like maybe we're not seeing it fully, but there's this stirring. There's something stirring.
And with the car shifting analogy of shifting a manual transmission, um, there's a time when you drive one, the car tells you it's time. It tells you it's overtime. It just goes, and you need to switch gears, right? It tells you that sound, the frequency. You know it's time. And there's people that can drive those cars and never hit the clutch. Like they know when the engine's ready. I don't do that. I have to press the clutch. And in that pressing of the clutch, there's this the engine, there's no power on the engine, but you know it's for a purpose to shift. And I think that's where we're at. We know that on the kingdom calendar is like the shift is happening.
Yeah.
In the kingdom calendar, it's like when Jesus was born, right? It was on the kingdom calendar. It was happening when Paul needed to get saved and preach the gospel to the Gentiles. Jesus just showed up. He's
Yeah.
like, dude, enough shenanigans. This needs to
Oh,
happen now.
interesting you talk about that, because I've been studying Luke, and I haven't got past Luke chapter 1 yet, because there's something in there that is just exciting my spirit, that back in that time there'd been 400 years of silence. There seemed to be a vacant space, that God had not been manifesting himself to the people, and then this supernatural occurrence of the birth of Jesus occurs. All of it supernatural in its time frame, in its logistical nature. Everything was supernatural. And as I've been studying that, it's like I'm sensing in my spirit, this is where we're at now. We're at a season, we're at a time where there's It's going to be supernatural. The shift will not happen without the unction of this supernatural impetus that is stirring, like the waters are stirring.
Can't make it. We can't make it happen. The story in Luke is that's very parallel. They were in a 400-year clutch engagement, waiting for the things in the earth to come into alignment for him to say. Now he needed the Romans to be crucifying people because that's what he prophesied back in Isaiah, right?
Mm,
So we look at it. Oh, there was 400 years of silence. No, there's 400 years of waiting for the timeline to align up, and we're
mm,
sitting in a time where the heavenly timeline, the kingdom calendar, is lining up, and it's going to happen whether we push or not. This
yeah.
baby's going to be birthed, whether we just say like Mary did, be it unto me what you're saying, Lord.
Mm,
It's just
mm,
receiving. He's doing it, and we're just saying, I'm in.
yeah. Wow. Be it unto me. And that's the posture that, for me, I'm sensing this shift to engage with the shift. This is what it's going to take. It's just going to take me to say, "Be it unto me." That I want to be in. I want to be. I want to be part of this shift. I want to be part of this
Right.
changing into the new season, into the new era that we're in. And I just, this rise up, in Isaiah 1, and rise up, rise up. It's like the willingness to engage with it, the willingness to embrace it, the willingness to look stupid and foolish for the sake of believing something that seems so completely ridiculous.
And it's which, right, it's which, there's so many voices out there right now, and I just try to not engage, but you can't help it. You know what I mean? It's all over the place, and I'm hearing even from from Christians people. I just got a text the other day, and I'm going, I ain't even going to open these up because it was all this doomsday stuff, like crazy out, like whoever they're listening to. I'm like, no, 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 no. Like that is not the Father's heart. That is not. I just had to be like, that's where they're at, and they're processing that. I need to trust that to the Lord. I can intercede and pray, but it's not for me to engage in them. They're so, the sky is falling. The sky is falling.
Mm,
Oh, and I'm like going. The Lord's saying, sit down.
yeah, yeah.
What I told you this morning when I said shift, I woke up this morning and heard shift because you told me that one word for today, and I hear shift. I'm like, yeah, call with Miriam, and he goes, and I go, what do you want to say about that? And it speaks to me a lot at like acronyms, and he said, seated. What did I say? Seated. Hold up. Seated high in future thought,
Mm,
and
wow.
I tucked it away for our phone call. So seated high in
You
future.
do it. Yeah. Wow. Well, I was hearing it. If it looks like a dream, like just something that we can't even imagine, then it will take a dimensional shift to see it come to fruition. So seated high in future thought, it's going above. It's going above the natural. It's going above the physical. It's rising up and seating ourselves in those heavenly places where that supernatural shift is going to transition us out of, living below to living above.
Right. It's that new perspective. I think last week when we talked, I was seeing that tapestry. So from the earth realm, if we're just dealing with life from here and in the natural and reacting to everything, then we're seeing life from that bottom of the backside of the tapestry with all the strings and the knots, and we don't understand the picture. And then when we come up and we're seated high at rest, he's doing everything.
Mm,
We're his kids. he's not saying go build a house for me. He said, I'm going to go away and build a house for you
Mm.
and in you. He's building us as a place for him to rest. And we're running around trying to fix everything and know everything and hear everybody. And he's like, what about me? You're seated right here. You keep getting distracted. We're seated with him. So we need to go, oh, let me see what you see. And he's seeing that kingdom calendar timeline, just like when Jesus was born. He knew the death was coming. But he said, but for the joy set before him, he went to the cross. So we need to go for the joy set. Yeah, there's turbulent times to, and he said, you'll have that. Every generation has. We're not, the Middle Ages was a turbulent time. I'm glad I have running water. Thank you, Lord. It's like,
Mm.
um,
Mm.
I think that there's we're getting that, I keep hearing the sky is falling, that anxious frequency, and we can choose to repeat it and create it, or we can choose to sit in our heavenly seat and go, what are you doing?
Mm.
That's interesting. What's that in there?
Yeah.
He's cleaning his bride. He's putting his bride together. I don't think he wants anyone left behind, right? Um, it's this stepping in, and as we step in, right, we can be like, but what about my family, and what about there's so all this chaos seems to be erupting, and but I can choose just to step in to my rightful place, seated with him, and that's where I can. How can I not cast my cares? When am I going to bring in a baggage of cares going, no, I'm going to go, oh, wait, there's peace here. Here, blop. Let's see what's
Mm.
going, let's see what you're doing,
Yeah.
right? Like this guy, the angels are going, he's on the move again. He's pushed in the clutch. He's shifting everything. Let's go see what he's doing. And we're all going, ah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's where our free will is very handy, where we can choose to you know, tell the storm in our head or whatever, peace, be still. I'm not
Mm.
going to listen to that. I'm going to tuck away with him for an hour, breathe, put on some music, and not, cast those vain imaginations down. Because if I speak them, I'm creating. And
Yeah.
I get people now, and I'm going, well, for me in my house, we're saying it's a good day. It's a good election year here in the States. God will be glorified,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Um,
It's
so
how we frame up the supernatural shift. When we contend with it, and we keep pulling it down back to the grassroots, back to the very physical level, we won't see what needs to shift around us, and we won't. The supernatural can't shift through us because we're a blockage. We're a cork in the bottle that's stopping it from being able to flow. This supernatural shift, it's just like as it was in the day when Jesus came and was born, and all that happened in that time was just completely out of the ordinary, out of what was physically um, physically could make sense. The supernatural shift then, it's like there's a supernatural shift occurring now. And if we ride the back of the on the back of its wings, there's going to be something phenomenal open up for us. If we resist it and hold back and stay, as you say, in the dark, the dark thoughts and all of the things that are causing us fear or anxiety, then we cannot ride on the back of this supernatural shift. We have to be willing to shift with it.
so in Luke, you said you're in 1 and 2. Does it get to the part with Simeon and Anna in the temple?
Yes.
Okay, so that's what I was thinking of. Is like here is, the wise men came and Herod kills all the 2 year old and under in Bethlehem. You're talking massive chaos.
Mm.
They, you know, that's what's coming, and but here they are bringing him on the 8th day to the temple, right? And here's
Mm.
two people that are waiting for, they're in that in between, they're waiting, they're anxious, and for years they were waiting, and he's like, I can die now, you know. I've seen what the Lord has promised. This is somebody who had a relationship with God, knew somehow in the kingdom calendar was going to happen before
Mm.
he died. They both did. These two people, they would go to the temple every day waiting to see the Messiah, and this is it. And it's not in the main temple, it's not on the news, but it's all happening, and God's not, the angels said to the shepherds, but no one told King Herod. It's like, so the system of this world is oblivious to what God is doing, but those of us with ears to hear that are seated in our heavenly place, listening to the heart of the Lord, we're going to hear. He says, I share with my friends what I'm going to do.
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
So,
And
um,
we're positioned and ready to ride on the back of this, or ride on the wings of this supernatural shift, which I think if we are trying to do that from the ground, we're not going to be able to keep up. It's like we're going to have to be living in the heavenly places, seated in the heavenly places with Christ, in that posture of above,
yeah.
waiting, looking,
Seated
expect.
high, seated high in future
Yeah.
thought. It's almost like what it's almost like when we say, people ask these things in different, they'll say, what would you, if you could talk to your 20-year-old self,
Mm.
right? If you could talk to the younger you as a teenager, so what truth would you give yourself? And
Yeah.
that's like seated high in future thought. What in my future self, when I'm totally not confused because I'm here and I'm there and we're walking in this newness, and what would I say to myself?
Mm.
Be still, because God's
Mm.
doing it all. I can't make this happen. Like you're saying, I can recognize it like Anna did and be, oh, this is it.
Yeah.
It's taken that flight. I just felt this, like, it's like seated in a plane. You don't, they go prepare for takeoff. You put on your seatbelt, you know,
Mm.
who knows? If the plane crashes, you're in trouble anyway, right? You're just trusting that this thing's taken off. You've strapped yourself to a huge bullet with jet fuel, right?
Yeah.
And we sit in the plane and we wait. And sometimes you're on the tarmac for a while. And then some people get really mad when that happens. And I'm like, well, I don't want to take off till it's safe, until the runway. I don't want to take off when a plane's landing. Like, people, calm down.
Mm.
Trust the
Yeah.
pilot.
Yeah.
Trust the air control people that we shouldn't take off right now. And that's where I just see this. It's almost like you're saying, get on the wings, and seem like this plane, like we just sit high, right? This thing's gonna take off, and if we're seated with him, we're with him in it. If we're struggling, trying to figure out, trying to make it happen, everyone's
Mm.
like, buy gold, the dollar's gonna crash. I'm like, God's my source. And if
Yeah.
I follow the people that are saying the sky is falling, my future self's going to tell me, why did you listen to the people saying the sky's falling?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? That's like crazy, because I'm like, that's what part of that text was about. It was like, Russia and China are going to invade, and we're going to become a colony of Russia. And I'm like, I ain't even opening up these videos. I'm like, whoa, I ain't even heard that. I don't want to hear that. And regardless, Joseph prospered in Egypt. So it doesn't matter what
Yes.
kingdom calendar come.
Yeah. Yeah. He did.
Yeah,
He prospered in Egypt. Yeah. And
yeah,
he was given, Jesus at his birth was given. Well, I can't remember the figure, but when I've read different bits of information sources that actually quantify in dollars, how much that he had. It was millions and millions of dollars. The gifts that he was
Well, they
given.
went. Well, then, Joseph has the dream, and God tells him, right? Joseph gave him a dream to go to Egypt because Herod was coming, right? The Herod's men were coming, and they lived. We don't know how long. We have no record of when they came back. Next thing you know, he's 12 years old, getting staying at the temple teaching people.
Mm,
So that was a not there, right? It's like God totally provided
yeah.
unexpectedly for what
Mm.
needed to be done. What?
And that's the supernatural piece. I think that is stirring so much inside of me. This supernatural shift, learning to live out of the not what we see, not what we, like you say, not what we see. That someone's going to invade here, and we need to do this there, and won't have money for that. But if God is God and He is able to do what He's done in the past, and He's saying there's a supernatural shift, then He is going to be able to do all that's needed in these days, weeks, months ahead. And
He'll
trust
provide. Right.
He'll provide, and trusting Him for that provision, that becomes the part that we join hands with the supernatural, and trust and believe, and embrace what that will look like and how it will um, facilitate and push us forward into the next thing that He has. I think for so long, maybe as church and body of Christ, we've been a little bit too comfortable and complacent, and we've liked to just have things in order and our ducks in a row. And could it possibly be that God is going to kick those ducks right out of the pond, and we're not going to have that luxury, and so the supernatural becomes the very thing that frames up our way ahead, coming up higher, like you said, coming up higher, future thoughts about what life will look like, how we're going to manage, what will the provision be.
But we do, Martha. You're concerned about so many things, right?
Yeah,
We're supposed
yeah,
to be like Mary.
yeah,
When you said we lose that luxury, no, but we don't know the luxury that's coming. Imagine not having to worry about your bill. Not like it just get the gold just shows up. I don't have to buy gold coins and hoard them somewhere and worry about where they are. People like buy gold, buy gold. I'm like, why? What am I gonna
yes,
shave it? Who's gonna weigh it? Like we don't even have this stuff anymore. How you gonna buy something with gold? You can go to Walmart and go, I want I don't know how that's giving people peace, but I'm just like, Lord, there's so much more. Like how that shift happened. It was 2,000 years ago. This
yeah,
major shift, and we've been riding in that. We've been riding in third gear for 2,000 years. It's time. Thank God for some.
yeah, yeah. To,
It's we
to
learn from the past and glean from it. How much more is God going to do now? Like
yeah,
we thought that was awesome, and look what He did, and He changed. I mean, we say before Christ and after Christ.
mm,
The human calendar got a push, and
yeah,
now how much more? I mean, I'm like excited. It's almost like, oh gosh, Lord, it's like pregnancy. I can be excited that the delivery date's coming and the baby's coming, and right, mother's going to that nesting thing, and we get everything ready and we're excited. But what if we only focused on the pain? The
yeah.
what if? The what if? Women like to tell horror stories. I had this revelation the other day. So I had three kids. The first one, I almost died. No, the first one, whatever it was. First one I almost died. The third one, the baby almost died. And the middle one came out like butter. Literally 4 pushes. Doctor wasn't ready. I'm like peaceful, just zoning out, breathing through every muscle cramp, and just, they're like, don't push. Okay. Why? The baby's coming. And I'm going, I can choose to give that report and believe for that, or I can focus on negative things and create that because I'm anxious going into these things. I said, God's birthing something, and we can be going,
Mm,
oh no, it's going to be terrible. Oh no, a lot of this, huh, what, or we can say, oh, God's birthing something.
Mm,
Get ready.
mm,
Let's get excited to
yeah,
what new is coming into the world. It was
yeah,
Jesus last time. What is it this time?
yeah. Yeah, I have this anticipation and this concept or this whole thing of shift, you know. I just thought it was more, I didn't realize that it was so embracing the supernatural until the last little while as I pondered Jesus and, you know, Mary says what's impossible with God, what's impossible with man is possible with God, and I feel like that's the season that we're coming into, my husband and I, for instance, we've been drawn into this season of just having to trust in the Lord for so many things that once upon a time were, you know, they came into our hand, and what we're seeing is this divine provision in miraculous, supernatural ways. And so I've been pondering this Luke 1 and didn't realize, but that is what God is saying. As it was in the days of Jesus, when this supernatural birth occurred, this supernatural transition into redemption and changing the whole narrative and changing the whole story that they'd been telling themselves for 400 years. I just sense that's where we're coming into now. We're coming into this supernatural shift where we won't have a choice about whether we walk by faith or not, or trust that God is in control or not. I just have a sense that that luxury will be taken away, and we can ride on the back of this supernatural shift, as you say, in rest and peace and trust, coming up higher, living above all the natural mindsets and perceptions that we have, and just rise up. And that's what Isaiah 60 is saying, rise up, rise
And I'm
up.
hearing childlike wonder, not
Mm,
adult fears of how we're going, right? It's childlike wonder.
mm, wow.
You
Yeah,
know, you know, it's your parents say we're going on a trip and they say a name you've never heard before and you get on the train or you get on the plane and you're just like, oh, I got my own little luggage, and oh, and I get an ice cream at the airport, and this, they're like excited. They're
mm,
not doing,
mm.
oh, I'm scared. I mean,
Yeah,
childlike wonder to step into the new. And like you were saying before last week about how there's warfare at the door. There's resistance at the door.
mm.
Where's the resistance coming from? Is it our anxiety of the new thing?
Mm,
We're shadow boxing with demons, going, oh, there's a war at the door. It must be a demon. Well, demons are probably pissed off that we're walking into the new. But if I get on the airplane and put my seatbelt on, Jesus is driving this thing, and that the devil can't stop the plane. You know,
yes, yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, dude, see you later. You know, I need to know I'm seated in high places and what that means. If I remain there in my mindset, then
Mm,
I can speak to the mountain and it's got to be removed. I'm not afraid of something comes up. You just, you know, it's what Jesus did. Why y'all waking me up? I was in the middle of a dream with Papa. And peace, be still.
in the
You
midst of
really
the
big up.
storm. Yeah, yeah.
My private time. I'm getting my itinerary for tomorrow, and y'all freaking out because the wind's blowing. It's just the enemy.
Wow, that's a
And
very,
we can be that way. He wanted them to be that way, but he knew they didn't understand. How much more should we be able to understand with the Holy Spirit?
mm,
Ask. You
yeah,
don't understand because you haven't asked what's going on.
yeah, yeah.
And I think that, like you're saying, it's the shift. It's in that when that thing engages, we're in that when the engine's not engaged in the shift, you're running. It's like that 400 years, or like our 2000, right? It's like it's it's just you're just going on momentum. You're going to say, right?
Mm,
That's where religion comes in and puts a box on things, and well, but when the power of God shows up and miracles start happening, we get
yeah,
these little Bibles throughout our 2000 years since Jesus. They pop up here and there, and you got these low times. And well, at some point, this thing's engaging back in, and right, what you were saying, if there's a shift on that kingdom calendar, that humanity, mankind is ready for this.
Mm.
It's time. Well, not that we prepared ourselves. Let me rephrase that. That the kingdom is ready to birth the
Mm.
next stage.
Yeah.
That we need to sit and rest and, like you're saying, ride on the wing and just allow it to unfold and
Mm.
embrace it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a little story I'm going to tell you. Okay, so it's a story. There's this group of scientists, and they're doing a experiment. They take two kids and they prepare two rooms. One is full of all the games and toys and everything you can imagine, and the other one's full of horse manure. They put one kid in each room, and they wait like 10 minutes, and they take their little clipboards and they go in to check. They open the door with the room with everything, and the kid is in the middle of the room pouting and crying, and they're like, "What's going on?" And he goes, I don't know what to do first, and I'm afraid I might break it. And he's overwhelmed and in meltdown. And they're like, "That's odd. Let's go check on the other kid." They open the door. They don't see the kid, and they hear some noises, and they're like, "Where are you?" And he pops his head out from the manure pit. Right, it's like 4 foot deep in manure, and he pops his head up and goes, "Hey!" And they go, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Well, with all this manure in here, there's got to be a pony somewhere." And he dives back into the manure. It's
Wow.
like, which perspective are we gonna have?
Mm. Mm. Yeah. Fascinating. Wow.
Yeah, so it's that mindset. Oh, there's a bunch of stuff happening. Well, God must be, what is God doing, or what's good? There's got to be
Mm.
good things. There's
Yeah.
got to be something happening. Why is all this stuff every time there's an uproar in society? There's major shifting happening. The
Yeah.
age of enlightenment. If we go back through the different stages of humankind, it's another step forward for
Yeah. Yeah.
what
Yeah.
God's doing.
Well, that's the thought for the day.
Yeah.
Supernatural shift. There is something going on. If you feel like your world is shaking and your friends are trembling and everyone's got the negative piece, then yeah, just really encourage you to go to the Lord, go to God, go to the heavenly places, sit with Him in rest and peace, um, and connect with this shift, with this supernatural shift that is currently unfolding. We're, like you said, Cheryl, we're in transition. We're in between, engaging between third and fourth gear.
Yep. And when it engages, there's a kick,
Yeah.
right? I have a little Miata, and it drives way differently than an airplane, but that shift okay, so an airplane one, that when they hit those thrusters, right? You're going down, and they sit, and then they flip that, and it just lifts, and
Mm.
you go from to
Yeah. Yeah, it's time to shift. It's time to get into a position, a posture to ride the winds into the next movement, the next phase, the next level. Um, and
Well,
yeah,
and I'm seeing like the airplane is the corporate thing, like you're saying, it's the whole like timeline, it's humankind, a heavenly shift in the calendar, a step
mhm,
into more. And personally, it's more like in a two-seater Miata, a little car, a sports car. That shift, you're in that in between, and then when it kicks in, that's when it's fun.
mm,
Right? It's not fun when I put the clutch in. I can't power out, but then as soon as
yeah,
you shift up, it's like
yeah,
whoosh. You've
yeah,
got power. You've
yeah,
got there's something's happening. So I
yeah,
think I think we're all waiting for something to happen, but I choose not to wait for a shoe to drop, which is a negative connotation. I care to see where we're going into the more. No
yeah.
matter what happens in the natural.
And rise up, rise up.
If
Go
Rome
home.
falls, Rome falls. It's okay. It's done its duty. If
Yeah,
it's like it's not
there's
my concern.
something new and different and better about to unfold. Well, look, thanks, Cheryl. Always fun sharing with you, chatting with you, and yeah, let's posture ourselves ready to ride the wings of a supernatural shift.
I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. All right. Well, you be